This is the Moshpit Backstage podcast for punk, metal and rock interviews and segments.
Hey, this is Josh, and you're listening to the Moshpit on Sim.
Josh Weaver is the guitarist of the band Royal Thunder, whose latest album, Wick, is out now. Josh, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having us. Thanks for talking with me.
You're very welcome. Now, this latest album, you're the primary songwriter of Royal Thunder, aren't you?
Correct, yes.
How do you go about writing music? Do you specifically start after a touring cycle? Is it ongoing? How does that all work?
Well, actually, I take that back. I have been the one that, writes the basic structure for the songs, but actually Will Fiore came on after Crooked Doors, and he's been a big part of bringing, basic structures or riff to the table that we can, all pretty much, I'll come up with a riff, or Will come up with a riff, and then we'll go into, the jam room and just play it out, and everybody kind of writes their own parts.
In terms of Will coming on board, was it challenging? How did you feel about kind of being relieved of sharing some of the duties of the songwriting?
It was great. I mean, I had been used to doing it on my own, or coming up with the parts on my own. But I think it's great, and it adds a whole new flavor to the sound, in a good way. He's very respectful, and there's a sound that is so on the same page and comes from a lot of the same influences we did growing up musically. So it all worked out really, really well.
Now, the album name, Wick, when a lot of people, they first hear about it, it's kind of announced, Royal Thunder are coming out with an album, that's what most people get. And you kind of have a limited amount of space to sort of signal what you're trying to say with this album in the title. How do you come up with that?
Well, I know that Mel had described it as like, wick of a candle, and it's kind of a visual for the head that like, hey, you can have a candle in your one hand with a wick and a flame in the other. Like, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to light it, or just a visual like that to get you thinking about life and in general.
I think the album cover sort of has that similar kind of mystical, sort of thoughtful quality about it. How'd you go about that? Did you give someone a specific kind of idea of what you were looking at? Was there more interpretive on that part? How'd that work out?
We really we sent over a handful of this classic album art that we loved, that we felt like was timeless and that we loved, and we sent the guy the music. He listened to it and came up with some things, and then we kind of went back and forth, until we actually shaped it up to what we thought fit the music perfectly.
Now, Crooked Doors, your last album, it got a lot of praise on a lot of best-of lists, which I imagine you're very proud of. But in terms of a follow-up to that, your third album, does that kind of put any pressure on you? Are you sort of aware of any sort of expectations? How does that all work?
Well, I think that, of course we want to make the best album we've ever done, but, we also realize that it's going to be different. It's just definitely every album's going to be different, but we definitely, making an album is hard. I mean, we care so much to do it and do it so well, and we put everything into it. And the thing about this band, we just love what we do, so no matter any time we get in the studio, we're definitely not going to really settle till it's exactly how we want it to be. And that's exactly the case with Wick. I think that since from Crooked Doors to Wick, we played out a lot. We toured a lot, and and that's happened with us throughout all the albums we've done. That really changes you as a musician. Like, you live life, you get older, you have more influences from things that aren't musical, and you live life, you laugh, you cry, and that all kind of goes into the bag of making an album. And and it's no different on Wick. We've lived a lot of life and played out live, and that's changed us, and I think it comes out in the album.
Now, in terms of just playing it live, ignoring sort of the experiential ideas of touring and the kind of growth, all that stuff that comes out, ignoring that for a second, does it give you a different perspective on the music when you're playing it live, when you're feeling the energy of the crowd? Does it change the way you view the music?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's, I think that if you come out and see us play, that you'll see, and it can be from night to night. I mean, I think the more we grow as musicians, even within each song, you can play it a little differently depending on how you feel, and it's interpreted a little bit differently. But we've always been that. We still play songs off the first EP, and they've grown and changed over the years, and evolved. I mean, same basic song, but we just revamp them and keep them fresh,
Something that's, obviously, I look at some interviews that you've done, get an idea of kind of the feel of the band, questions, all that sort of stuff. And one thing that's come up quite a few times, and this is kind of relevant to the fact that some of the music that I personally play on the radio is kind of orientated more in the metal direction, is the fact that there's this divide between some people who want to call you a rock band, some people call it a metal band, and you really don't care about that for obvious reasons. Why do you think we always want to categorize things, and do you think there's any way we can break out of that kind of habit?
I don't know. It's always really confused me, and to a degree, I mean, it used to bother me, but I at this point, I realize people are going to say what they say, and unfortunately, it seems like, you get a couple of outlets where, people don't think for themselves, and they go on, and a couple of places may tag you as this, and then all of a sudden it's just stuck as that, and it's like, well, yeah, we're not a metal band, we're not a doom band. I mean, but it is funny how that happens, and how I don't know. It's a very strange thing to me. I don't like putting labels on music. I mean, I think good music's good music, and some people are so driven on certain genres. I do think we're a rock band. I mean, I think that I mean, it could be alternative rock, or, but, it is. I mean, we'll always do what we do, and there might be something that sounds like rock. There might be something that sounds like jazz, who knows.
Now, two last questions about kind of you and your experience of music. How did you first get into music? When did you first start listening to it for, the enjoyment that you feel from it?
I mean, I remember being a kid and having the Thriller album. I mean, I remember loving that and listening to that growing up. But really, the first time it really got me into music in a really heavy way was Nirvana. When I saw them hit, and when I saw what just the impact and how raw and real Nirvana was, that's what grabbed me. I said, man, I want that. I want to be a part of that. And didn't know how, but I knew that it made me pick up my guitar that I'd gotten like a Christmas or two before. That just sat there and actually try to do something with it.
And final question, I know it's possibly the most difficult question in the world, but do you have any favourite bands, albums, any of that kind of thing?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely have a couple at the top. First, Last, and Always by Sisters of Mercy is one of my favorite albums of all time. I mean, I think that's been the number one. I can listen to that album almost any time. A couple of the Slow Dive albums are like that, just classics. listen to them at any time. I think Sisters of Mercy, First, Last, and Always is definitely up there.
Roll of Thunder's third album, Wick, is out now. Josh, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Moshpit Backstage podcast. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and Omni. To find out more about the show, go to www.syn.org.au/moshpit. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/moshpitonsin and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at moshpitsin. The regular Moshpit radio show broadcasts punk, rock and metal tunes and interviews every Thursday nights on SYN 90.7 on FM and digital radios. Listeners outside of Melbourne, Australia can stream SYN 9.7 online at www.syn.org.au. Thanks to Vintage Ruin for the music.
Hi, this is Tommaso from Flash God Apocalypse.
Hi, I'm Enid from Girls' School.
I am Phoebe Pinnock from Heavenly Axe.
Hey, this is Gary Oldmead of the Misfits.
Hey, this is Kat Sproul from Horizon's Edge, and you're listening to the Moshpit on SYN FM.
Hi, this is Einar from Leopard.
Hi, I'm Virginia Lilly from the band Lily.
This is Raul from 1349.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ali from Beaverhead.
Hey, everybody, this is Charlie Benante with Anthrax, and you are listening to the Moshpit on SYN.